You think people are fair. You think loyalty matters. You think that if you give enough, eventually someone gives back. That's the biggest lie they sold you. Because here's the truth Machiavelli warned us about. If you're not using people, you're already being used. And the worst part, you won't even see it until it's too late. People don't love you for who you are. They love you for what they get from you. You give them attention. You give them comfort. You give them validation. You give them access, loyalty, energy, time, and in return, most of them give you less than what they took. Some give you nothing at all, but they'll smile. They'll thank you. They'll tell you they value you. Because as long as you don't realize what's happening, they can keep drinking from your cup without ever refilling it. Machiavelli didn't hate people. He understood them. He didn't teach you to hate the world. He taught you to stop pretending it's fair. Because once you see the game, you can start playing it before you lose by default. The ones who over-explain, over-forgive, over-offer, and overstay. These are the ones who get drained, replaced, or erased. Why? Because they assume others think like them. They think if I'm loyal, they will be too. If I help, they'll return the favor. If I stay, they'll appreciate me. But people don't mirror goodness. They mirror what benefits them. And if using you benefits them, they will until you stop them. Machiavelli understood one thing better than almost anyone. You don't become powerful by giving everything. You become powerful by deciding who gets what and when. You must control access. You must make your value scarce. You must treat your time, attention, energy like currency, because that's exactly what everyone else is already doing. You just didn't notice it yet. Let's be clear. The moment someone realizes they can get your loyalty without effort, get your forgiveness without change, get your energy without cost, they will. Not because they're evil, but because convenience is addictive. And you're the most convenient person they've ever met, unless you start using them first. You've been taught that using people is wrong, but here's what they didn't teach you. Everyone is using everyone. The only question is whether it's conscious or unconscious. If you provide value without direction, you get drained. If you give access without qualification, you get replaced. But if you identify what people want from you, control how and when you give it, trade instead of give and cut off the moment they stop reciprocating. Now you're not being used. You're using consciously, strategically, intelligently. And Machiavelli would say that's the only way to survive with power intact. You don't wake up one day and realize you're being used. It happens slowly, quietly through smiles, thank yous, and justifications. By the time you feel the drain, you've already paid the price. That's why Machiavelli didn't wait to be betrayed. He trained himself to see the signs early. Because in his world, like yours, the only people who don't get used are the ones who notice when it starts. You haven't heard from them in days, maybe weeks. But the moment they need advice, support, a favor, or an emotional dump, they remember your name. They don't check in. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't even pretend because to them, you're not a person. You're a resource. You're on call. And the moment you stop being useful, they stop showing up. These are the ones who think you should always be available. You should respond quickly, and you should keep giving even when they give nothing back. They treat your time and energy like a subscription they never paid for. And when you start to pull back, they don't reflect. They get offended. Why? Because they weren't in a relationship with you. They were in a relationship with what you offered. And now that it's being taken away, they act like you're the villain. Machiavelli would call this a parasitic bond built on entitlement, not loyalty. You say no, you need time. You don't agree. You stop overextending. And suddenly you've changed. You're cold now. I thought you cared. This is emotional blackmail disguised as feedback, because the moment you start becoming less useful, they start making you feel wrong for protecting yourself. But remember, only users fear your boundaries. Real ones respect them. Every time they mess up, you're there. Every time they fall, you catch them. Every time they complain, you listen. And what do they do with all that help? Nothing. They repeat the same cycles, make the same mistakes, drain you with the same stories because they're not here to grow. They are here to be carried, and as long as you keep carrying them, they never have to stand up on their own. Pay close attention. When do they praise you? When do they tell you how good you are? Usually right after you sacrifice something for them, your time, your plans, your boundaries, your peace. That's when they applaud you. That's when they appreciate you, not for who you are, but for what you're willing to lose to keep them comfortable. That's not love. That's utility worship, and it's how users keep givers on a leash. But here's the difference now. Ow, you see it. And Machiavelli would say, once you see, you must act or suffer knowing you allowed it. The good news, you don't need to become a manipulator. You don't need to become cruel. You just need to flip the frame from being used unconsciously to using consciously. You've spent most of your life playing defense, protecting your feelings, preserving your peace, hoping people value what you give. But Machiavelli never played defense. He played the person. He didn't wait to be used. He positioned himself as someone who could use without ever being accused of it. This part is your transition from the one who gets drained to the one who decides who gets what and why. Not every relationship is mutual. Most are transactional in disguise. You give them time, they give you distraction. You give them loyalty, they give you convenience. You give them emotional safety, they give you inconsistency. And the more balanced it seems, the easier it is to overlook the imbalance. Machiavelli would look at every relationship and ask, what do they really want from me? And what am I getting in return? If the answer's nothing, he'd walk. No drama, no explanation. Because staying in imbalance is a choice, not a virtue. This is where most people fail. They give because it feels right. They need it. They've been there before. Or that's just who I am. And that's fine until you burn out, get used, or disappear from yourself. Machiavelli didn't believe in pure selflessness. He believed in calculated generosity. He would ask, what does this build? What does this cost me? Will they grow or will I just become their crutch? And if the answer didn't serve his long-term strategy, he wouldn't give. Not out of coldness, but clarity. Because once your value is strategic, you never feel regret, only results. Not everyone should have access to your energy. You need to build filters around your time and presence. And every person in your life should pass through questions like, do they grow when I help them or just become dependent? Do they give value back or just take and reappear when they need more? Have they ever helped me without being asked? Do they improve after access or collapse when I pull away? Anyone who fails these filters, you don't cut them off immediately. You simply reposition them. They move from priority to background, core circle to distant contact, partner to occasional interaction. You don't burn the bridge. You raise the toll. This sounds dark, but it's how the world already works. People respect what they have to earn and forget what they get too easily. So you stop giving time to people who waste theirs, giving access to people who don't improve from it, giving advice to people who never apply it, and giving loyalty to people who never prove anything. Now you trade. I'll help you with this. If you show me this, I'll support you if you follow through. You can have my time if it aligns with my schedule. You want my consistency? Show me your effort. You don't say it out loud. You simply move this way, and people adjust or exit. It's not that you become fake. It's that you become intentional. You study their character. You test their loyalty. You observe how they act when you stop giving. And based on what you see, you decide how they stay in your life, or if they stay at all. Not from emotion, not from history, from strategy. Because the one who isn't used strategically will eventually be used carelessly, and Machiavelli would never allow that. Let's be clear, you are already using people. Every time you ask someone for help, connection, attention, approval, you're extracting value. The problem isn't that you use, it's that you don't know how to do it strategically without guilt, without damage, and without getting caught. Machiavelli didn't avoid using people. He refined it. Because power isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about positioning yourself so others willingly do what benefits you. And thank you for the opportunity. This is the foundation of ethical power. Let them feel useful, but never let them feel essential. When people feel useful, they engage, they offer, they commit. But the moment they think they're essential to your stability, they will start negotiating against you. Machiavelli would compliment their usefulness, reward initiative, and acknowledge effort, but never imply dependence. He created the illusion. You're valuable to me, not I need you to function. Big difference. That illusion keeps them in motion and you in control. Most people don't help you for loyalty. They help you for significance. They want to feel smart, needed, one step above the others. Machiavelli would tap into that by asking for advice he didn't need, delegating tasks with emotional framing. I trust you with this, in making people feel chosen, superior, involved, all while keeping his real strategy private. He didn't manipulate. He channeled ego because when someone thinks your win is their win, they help you build an empire even if they'll never sit on the throne. Never ask for favors without leverage. And never be in a position where someone helps you just to be nice. Why? Because generosity without exchange always turns into resentment or leverage. Instead, if they offer help, ask how you can return it. If you need help, attach it to a future trade. If you feel you owe someone, repay it fast. You want clean exchanges, not emotional debts. Because unpaid favors are time bombs in your power structure. Machiavelli avoided those like poison. Use people, yes. Use them repeatedly without return. Never. Why? Because overuse equals awareness. Even the most willing people start to feel used when they become the only one being asked. To avoid this, spread your requests. Rotate responsibilities. Keep your ask light unless they've proven loyalty. This preserves goodwill, mystery, and control. Because the more someone sees how much they're giving, the sooner they ask what you're hiding. Here's where Machiavelli separates from the manipulators. A well-used person walks away feeling appreciated, not emptied. You want them to feel like they grew while helping you, like they became sharper, stronger, more useful, like their association with you elevated their position. That way, even if they're being used, they don't want it to stop. And that's how you build long-term leverage. Because when someone gets something out of being used, you never have to ask twice. You feel guilt because you were raised on the illusion of equal effort. But Machiavelli knew people don't serve leaders out of fairness. They serve them out of belief or fear. So you don't need to stop using people. You need to use them in ways that don't destroy trust, ways that don't trigger suspicion, ways that make them feel like allies, even if they were tools. And once you master that, you become untouchable because no one can accuse you if they feel they benefited too. There's a sharp difference between being valuable and being exploitable. But most people blur that line, and it costs them everything. They give too much. They say yes too quickly. They build reputations on helpfulness and end up resenting everyone they helped. Machiavelli would never allow that. He knew how to stay useful without ever being owned, how to give just enough to keep others close, but never enough to be taken for granted. Let's break down how to do exactly that. First, understand this. Being useful isn't weak. It's strategic positioning. If you know something others don't, offer something others need, or can solve problems others can't, you become a fixture of their plans. But only if you control how, when, and why you deliver. The moment your value becomes expected instead of earned, you lose leverage. So you must stay useful without becoming easy. A servant waits for orders. A resource offers results on their own terms. This is the difference. Servant, what can I do for you? Resource, here's what I can offer if it serves both of us. See the shift? The servant begs for direction. The resource sets the frame. Machiavelli would never offer his influence, network, or insight for free. He would wait, watch, then deliver something powerful when it made him indispensable. That's how you stop being used. You don't refuse to help. You redefine what help looks like. If you always say yes, you train people to expect it. Soon your time becomes worthless. Your effort becomes background noise. And worst of all, they stop thanking you. Machiavelli knew availability kills mystique. And mystique is what keeps people calculated in your presence. So you must delay responses intentionally. Say no without guilt. Set visible limits and reinforce them calmly. You don't need to be rude. You just need to be selectively accessible. And the moment someone realizes they can't predict your yes, they start earning it. Helpful people often give in hopes of being seen. I did this for you, now you'll value me. I was there, now I'll be protected. I helped, now I'll be chosen. But that's emotional gambling. You give hoping they'll return something they never agreed to. Machiavelli didn't hope. He traded value for alliance effort for access, time for leverage. This means every time you give, you do it with a clear internal agreement. I give this because it moves the piece forward for me, and if it doesn't, you don't give. When you've been too useful for too long, people forget the cost of losing you. So don't announce your frustration. Don't demand appreciation. Don't threaten to leave. Just withdraw quietly. Stop giving. Stop fixing. Stop checking in. Watch how fast they panic, recalculate, and suddenly remember your worth. Machiavelli didn't teach through confrontation. He taught through distance. Because people don't value presence until it becomes a scarcity. This is the hardest one for givers. You give more than you're paid for, more than you're credited for, more than you're protected for. You think it shows your character. But Machiavelli would say, if you give more than your position demands, you weaken the position you earned. Why? Because you confuse people about your standards. And when people are confused about your standards, they don't rise to meet them. They sink until you start drowning with them. Being useful is not weakness. Being useful without limits is. So here's the new rule. Give with awareness. Pull back with precision. And if they don't notice what you brought, let them feel what they lost. That's not ego. That's Machiavellian equilibrium. You've seen it happen. Someone starts taking control. They set boundaries. They demand value for value. And what do people call them? Selfish, cold, calculating. But these are the people who rise, not because they stepped on others, but because they finally stopped letting others step on them. Machiavelli would never apologize for leverage, because in a world built on strategy, to not use people wisely is to choose weakness. Let's close this out by mastering the final truth. How to rise using others without guilt, without backlash, without leaving a single crack in your reputation. You don't rise by caring others. You rise by finding people whose vision aligns with yours and then moving forward together. If you help someone grow, but they refuse to help you rise, you're not in a partnership. You're a stepping stone. Machiavelli would never pity someone who refused to evolve. He wouldn't burn bridges. He'd simply build a better path forward with better people. And if someone cries betrayal when you outgrow them, that's because they thought you were staying small to make them comfortable. Using people ethically means they must feel equal. Even if you know you're leading, you listen first, credit them publicly, ask questions you already know the answers to, praise them strategically, and offer small concessions to mask the big ones you're taking. Why? Because when people feel equal, they rarely rebel. They defend the system they think they're part of. Machiavelli didn't dominate by suppression. He dominated by making others feel chosen. So even if you're using them, they feel used by a king, not a tyrant. Once someone knows your leverage point, they can prepare for it, sabotage it, copy it. So never reveal how many options you really have, how much value you actually provide, what your real goals are, or why you keep certain people close. Let your movements appear reactive, not planned. Let your gains look like opportunity, not calculation. That way, people support you without ever realizing they're part of your plan. No one should ever feel like you cut them off. They should feel he's just focused right now. She's evolving. They're busy building something big. Machiavelli understood the psychology of soft exits. He didn't exile people loudly. He let them fade away into irrelevance. You must do the same. Promote someone new without announcing the demotion of the old. Withdraw emotionally before you withdraw physically. Let the relationship decay without pulling the plug in public. Why? Because villains get targeted, but visionaries get respected even when they leave others behind. This is where power becomes sustainable. You don't use people just to win. You use people to build something they feel part of. You don't drain them. You redirect them. You don't manipulate. You guide. And when they look back years later, they won't say, "He took everything from me." They'll say, "I helped him build something real." That's not just strategy. That's legacy. You've been used before. That's why you're here. But that ends now, because now you understand. Giving without positioning is weakness. Loyalty without standards is bait. Help without return is emotional servitude. But once you use intentionally, ethically, silently, you become what Machiavelli always taught. The one who moves pieces while others believe they're playing the game. You don't owe anyone your power, And if they want your help, they can earn it like you.